Hey superstars, welcome to the Get Rich Without Being a Bitch podcast, and I am your host Vanessa Shaw for this journey. We're going to be challenging some stereotypes, shattering glass ceilings, really looking at what it takes to live richly and to design a business that's going to support the life that you really want to be living. I'm going to be sharing lots of tips, tools, and strategies along the way, and I can't wait for you to join me on this journey. Hey superstar, welcome back to another episode of Get Rich Without Being a Bitch. And if we're going to be talking about getting rich, we definitely need to talk about money. One of my favorite topics, it really is. And there's so many practical things that you can be doing in your firm that frankly, most other owners are overlooking. And I'm going to give you these things today because I know from experience that you are typically leaving at least 10 to 20% of your revenue on the table. And I say that at least because some of the numbers that we see are shockingly high, really shockingly high. And it's because, well, there's a couple of things here that are happening. Honestly, if you've been listening to other podcasts, and if not, go back and find them, look at your own relationship with money. Right? If you have a lot of discomfort about money, about receiving more, about having those conversations, it is going to show up in your firm. Guaranteed. You will avoid, right, that discomfort in your own firm, even if this means you're digging into your own profit, you're not paying yourself as much, and frankly, creating a lot of financial stress. So your own relationship with money is going to be showing up right inside your firm. And frankly, it permeates through just about everything in your firm. Money really does touch just about everything because there's really not one aspect of your firm that can exist without money, right? We don't get to hire a team. We don't get to buy systems. We don't get to invest. We don't get to pay for, our office building or the environment or all of those things without money. So it touches everything. This could be a great place to go back and revisit. Now, you're like, okay, I've really understood that, Vanessa. It's not that. I lack the systems, right? I've been working on these other things, but frankly, I lack the systems. And yes, I totally get that too, as well. Often what happens with money is like money's not the problem per se. Money is just amplifying problems that you haven't yet solved, right? I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here as well, just because it's a good one. The problem with money as well is that we have so much emotion around it. And sometimes we turn it in on ourselves and we feel shame and embarrassment that we're not doing certain things with money, like we're not further ahead, we're not earning enough, we're not paying ourselves enough, we've got too much in accounts receivables, right? And instead of really applying the system, we go down a rabbit hole into shame and we blame ourselves. I'd encourage you to think differently about this, right? That money is really amplifying something that you need to learn next, a new system that you need to put in place, a new problem to solve if you want. And when we can start to reduce some of that emotional load around it, it gets a lot easier to apply those systems. So there are some pretty scary stats when it comes to law firms. And I'm going to go generically here because, of course, these things will change depending on, the systems that you've already got set up in your firm, different practice areas, different geographies. But as kind of a general rule of thumb, most law firms are only collecting about 80% of what they've billed. Only 80%. Now, I've heard stats even less than that, right? Closer to 70, 75. But let's just go with that 80 for now. That means that you are leaving 20% on the table. So you're running a $500,000, a $500,000 firm. 20% is $100,000. That's a lot of cash, right, to be left on the table. And why is that? Well, from a mindset perspective, most definitely you could have bought into the notion that, well, this is the way it is with firms. It's difficult to collect. We know we have these difficult cases. That's how it is. We kind of set our targets with that in mind. And I'm like, this is unacceptable. If you have been doing work, you've been hiring team, you've been, doing what you were supposed to be doing, you deserve to be paid for it. And I suspect it is a lack of good systems that is really getting in the way. So first, let's shift your mindset. Let's think about even if you collected another 10%, right? On that 100,000 that's being left on the table, collecting another 10%, 50,000. You can do a lot with 50,000, right? And it might be you want to invest back into the firm. Perhaps you haven't yet got your emergency fund in place. This would be a really good chunk of cash to have in an emergency fund. Or perhaps it really is time that you gave yourself a raise, and there it is. You see, so often it's really sneaky with money. We think we need to work harder. We think we've got to just keep driving more. And there are so many opportunities in your firm today where you can optimize what you're currently doing, like plug some of these leaks. You don't have to work harder, but there's certainly about being financially smarter, right, with what you're doing. So even setting a goal for those collections to improve them would be a great place to start. And again, what are some of those steps that you would then need to think about? Well, there's always you're not actually going to service certain cases and clients if they are not current with payments. For many of you listening, that's going to be your greatest point of leverage, right? The other place is to start to look at, having those retainers replenished automatically. I have conversations behind the scenes where I'll say something like, well, in order to do that, your service agreement will need to be updated to reflect that. And then I hear this little laugh. Actually, Vanessa, it already is. It's already in writing. We just don't enforce it. That's not what we're doing. It's like you've done half the work to really set yourself up, but you're not moving it over the finish line. Now, again, for some of you, yes, you need to update your working agreements, your service agreements, okay? And then starting to look at how do you collect that money? If things are sitting out there and you've got accounts receivables, do you even know how much is due to you? How much is owed? Do you have a system for collecting it? Do you have somebody on the team if you don't want to have those conversations? And again, perhaps there is a better use of your time, especially depending on the level of firm that you're running. Do you have somebody on your team that can take this on and that would be really, really motivated to start to increase that percentage, right, for your accounts receivables? So you've got to start to think through these things as how can you problem solve? How can you be more effective with some of your money systems and set them up so that you never have to be chasing money again? Now, we get not all of our firms, right? Because some firms are in the process of doing this, but it is not uncommon for us to have firms that are at 100% collections with the systems that they put in place. It's simply, right, non-negotiable. Perhaps they've learned the lessons the tough way, right? Or they've just said, as we're working together, we're going to put these things in place because this doesn't sound like a fun way to be running the firm. So 100%. Look at your numbers. Start to understand what percentage are you not collecting and put some of these systems in place. And when I say a system, by the way, around collections, a really simple system could be something like on a Monday morning, you get your office manager or an assistant to give you the list of all of the things that are overdue and overdue by how much. And somebody is going to be picking up the phone, calling those clients to get their account current or sending emails. Okay, that's a simple system so that you can start to do it on a weekly basis. What I see is these things slip far too long, right? And then we've got months and months, sometimes years of money that hasn't been collected and it's written off. The other thing for sure linked to this is going to be correct billing, right? A lot of you get too busy in the client work and you don't want to be doing the billing, you don't like it, you think you're going to catch up on it, but you then leave it too long. And at the point that you actually sit down to put it together, you've either not got good notes, you feel guilty about it, or all of a sudden it's just added up to an amount that you're like, there's no way I can now go and bill the client this amount. They're going to be shocked. And you find yourself writing off work. So it's not even not collected. The client never even sees that amount on the invoice. You've decided in advance. So these are some of those practices, right? If you want to get richer and frankly relieve some of the financial stress, you have to improve some of your money systems. And this is about how do you collect money and do it in such a way that puts you in the driver's seat so that you don't have to waste valuable time and energy chasing money, and you can use your skills, right, to be more in your zone of genius and really leading your firm to the next level. So as always, superstars, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I know for some of you, this is going to be really challenging. It is. This is going to be super, super challenging. You're going to be outside of your comfort zone. You are not going to want to do this. Yet, this is a critical leadership skill that you must learn. Because one of the things I've said is as you grow, if you don't start to learn these lessons, you will start to have some mistakes that really hurt with a lot more zeros attached to them. And now your stress is off the charts and it's really, really getting in the way. So if you are uncomfortable, see that as a good thing. It's a sign of growth. Lean into it, build some systems, and let those systems hold you accountable to getting richer. And of course, you don't have to be bitchy to get richer and enjoy a fabulous firm that also, as the firm gets bigger, your life gets better. Catch you on the next episode.